And more breaking news that's coming in. This is ahead of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel. The joint statement of the 10th meeting of the India-Israel Joint Working Group on Counter-Terrorism has been released. Now, both sides have condemned terrorism in all forms, including cross-border terrorism. Both sides have condemned the Pahalgam terror attack and have called for the strengthening of multilateral forums like the FATF. There has been no mention of Hamas, Lashkar or Jaish in the statement. So that part has been sanitized in the statement, but both sides committing to joint cooperation when it comes to tackling terror, the scourge that both sides face consistently on a daily basis, both India as well as Israel, with the condemnation coming in for the Pahalgam terror attack, as well as the pitch to embolden multilateral forums like the FATF to tackle terror sponsors. I'm joined by my colleague Akanksha Swaroop on the broadcast. So Akanksha, something that is central to India-Israel ties is the tackling of terrorism, and that commitment being affirmed through this statement. Akanksha, can you hear me?
Yes. So Ayushman, important to also highlight that this is a joint working group committee meet that has taken place just ahead of Prime Minister's visit, as you spoke about. So if you talk about the mention of Hamas, Hezbollah, all of these terror entities, we have to wait for a joint declaration. But we can gauge, this entire JWG meet on counter-terrorism has already set the tone in terms of what the bilateral relationship between India and Israel is currently, and how the meeting tomorrow is going to shape up and strengthen our strategic cooperation, because there are very few countries which are on the same page with New Delhi when it comes to our stand on terrorism. Just recently, we've had that joint declaration with France, where India and France both have vowed to fight terrorism together. And so, hot on the heels, we see this meet also happening on counter-terrorism with the Israeli side. And important to highlight that India's side was represented by Dr. Vinod Bahade, who's the Joint Secretary of Counter-Terrorism in the Ministry of External Affairs, and Mr. Nadav Esther, who's the Head of Bureau of Strategic Affairs Division in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Israel. So this is just one aspect of the bilateral relationship. We are also being told that India will now start negotiating on its own free trade agreement pact with Israel as we speak tomorrow when Prime Minister will be in that meet. Apart from the FTA, you can expect greater defense cooperation. We happen to be one of the largest buyers of defense military equipment of Israel, and they are one of our biggest sellers after Russia. So this is only setting the tone as far as counter-terrorism is concerned, but it is indeed a boost to our own morale, to our security forces, that Israel has unequivocally condemned the Pahalgam terror attack, and it's important to highlight that India has also condemned the October 7 attack. So we'll have to see if technology sharing, intel sharing will be able to address this menace of terrorism. Remember, Ayushman, that India and Israel both have borne the brunt of. They've also condemned other terror acts that have emphasized the urgent need to hold the perpetrators of these heinous acts. It's interesting to observe that they have not mentioned the Delhi terror blast. But Ayushman, the two sides have exchanged views on the changing face of terrorism as well, because they've also talked about exchange of technology, which will be able to review a wide range of traditional and emerging threats and challenges such as terrorist recruitment, abuse of technology for terrorist purposes, and financing of terrorism. Both sides have also expressed concern over the increasing use of unmanned aerial vehicles, drones and AI for terrorist purposes. So we'll have to see what the joint declaration now will state between India and Israel after Prime Minister concludes that visit on 26th of February.
Right. Thank you, Akanksha, for getting us that update. Let's get a view on on the Prime Minister's visit to Israel, ladies and gentlemen, from Israel itself. Joining us on the broadcast is Shelley Tal Meron, member of the Israeli Senate, is joining us on the broadcast. Thank you, Ms. Meron, for joining us on the broadcast here at CNN News 18. Now, how significant, in your opinion, is Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel, a crucial ally in the war on terror and significant cultural roots which are shared by both sides?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. We are very, very glad to receive Prime Minister Modi here in Israel. We see India as a great friend of Israel. We appreciate the support that we have gotten from your Prime Minister and the administration since October 7th, 2023, when this horrific tragedy happened to the state of Israel. And we appreciate the Republic of India, the people of India, and the government. And so we're very happy to receive the Prime Minister here in Israel, and we're looking forward to his visit here.
Right. And Ms. Maron, when we talk about the situation currently in the region, the regional scenario is, of course, very precarious with the United States and Iran and the war clouds forming over the region. How do you place this visit in that context?
Of course, the state of Israel is prepared for any scenario that happens. As always, diplomacy is always better, but of course, if there won't be an agreement between the United States, President Trump, of course, and Iran, then Israel is prepared to take action. And of course, we are hoping for the people of Iran that this regime will change. We support the Iranian people. We're against the regime. Mm-hmm. And the state of Israel is, of course, prepared to any sort of outcome that can happen if there won't be a diplomatic agreement. And yes, of course, there are a lot of terror threats around us in the Middle East. And Iran, of course, is the head of the snake and operating all the enemies around us. That means Hamas in the Gaza Strip, of course, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis, which have been a threat to the state of Israel, but also to other countries around the world. And Iran is basically responsible for all these militias around the world. And we are prepared to do whatever it takes to defend the state of Israel. You have to remember that having Iran be a nuclear, having them have nuclear weapons is unacceptable. It's an existential threat to the state of Israel and to other countries as well. And of course, the ballistic missiles plan is also an existential threat to the state of Israel. We cannot accept Iran having nuclear weapons or developing their ballistic missiles plan.
Right. And Ms. Maron, defense cooperation between India and Israel is something that's essential to the bilateral ties. Do you see encouraging signs of movement in that realm as India bolsters its modernization drive in the defense sector?
Well, yes. During the past few years, there has been a lot of advancement with the cooperation between Israel and India. We are very fortunate with that, and it's great to see the advancement that's happening. I know there have been many visits by Indian officials here, and of course tomorrow, Prime Minister Modi. And you also had visits from Israeli government officials back in India. We, of course, want this cooperation to expand. And I know that there have been many partnerships, including, the head of my party, Yair Lapid, had the partnership back in 2022, the I2U2 partnership, which was very successful, and we were very blessed with that. And also, I know that we're expanding the trade between the countries in different areas, whether it's cyber, military cooperation, etc.
Right. Ms. Maron, the fight against global terrorism unites both India and Israel very strongly. I would say much better than other nations that are also tackling this menace. I think the threat of terrorism is something both nations recognize very significantly. How crucial is India as an ally on that front as both nations face terror pretty much on a daily basis?
I completely agree with you. I think that the state of Israel is probably the first country around the world that can understand the threat of radical Islam and terror, in India and other places around the world as well. But of course, the state of Israel has suffered from this since the day it was established in 1948. But within recent years, we saw it with Hamas, of course, on October 7th. We saw it with Hezbollah. We see it with the Houthis. And there are other threats as well. So the first state around the world that can relate to this is, of course, the state of Israel. We have to stand united against terror around the world. Terror is not only against Israel, it's against the free world, it's against democracies, it's against a way of life. And we have to stand united against terror. I'm sure India and Israel are a great example of countries that will not tolerate terror as a way of life, and we stand united against this threat. And we see that this threat is not only in Asia, we see it all around the world. We see it in Europe, we saw it in the United States, we see it everywhere. So we have to stand united against this phenomenon.
Right. And Ms. Marin, anti-Semitism has been a recurring issue that Jews face across the globe ever since the October terror attack. How crucial is India as an ally on that front, given the fact that Jews have always thrived in India, and India has consistently spoken out against anti-Semitism across the globe?
Thank you for raising this issue, because this is something that we are very concerned about here in Israel. You know, there has been a huge wave of anti-Semitism going around the world since October 7th and the war with Gaza. It has become, a much bigger threat. There have been a lot of occasions where there was violence used against Jewish communities around the world, against Israelis around the world. And so we're very concerned about that. The state of Israel does a lot to tackle that, but we need local governments to also act and condemn anti-Semitism. We saw just a few weeks ago what happened back in Australia.
Right.
We had people from the Jewish communities murdered and wounded during this terror attack, and we have to condemn this. Now, India is one of the biggest nations around the world, and your support means a lot to the state of Israel. So standing united together with us against anti-Semitism is so important. And yes, we have a great Jewish community back in India. And I have to tell you, I used to be in the high-tech industry, and I visited India many times. And I was always received very warmly and very kindly. And I'm very thankful to the Indian people for that. And we appreciate the support from the Indian people and the Indian government. And we need your support to fight anti-Semitism around the world.
Now, I want to shift focus to another aspect that is gaining a lot of traction here in India. The defense circles have for years marveled at the Iron Dome. Now, could there be technological exchange on that front with India, given the fact that both sides are fighting the war on terror, and India is bolstering its self-reliance, or what we call here Atmanirbharta, when it comes to tackling terror and expanding our defense sector?
Well, first of all, we're so proud of the Iron Dome. It has made a huge difference back here in Israel. When we have missile attacks, this is what saves our civilians. So we're so thankful for this system, and we're very lucky and fortunate to have it. And of course, I think that countries around the world, democracies that want to protect themselves from aggression from radical Islamists or terror groups, should have this equipment. And of course, I think that the Republic of India is a great friend of Israel, and we need to strengthen our connections in that regard as well. And I'm hoping that we can do that.
Right. I want to shift focus back to the war clouds over the region. Now, amid the tensions in West Asia, there have been repeated campaigns coming in from Israel that Iran needs to be reined in. Now, given the fact that the West has pretty much recognized the fact that Iran is a security destabilizer in the region, do you think that Israel has finally achieved that consensus on a global stage?
Well, I remember when we had the 12-day war with Iran a few months ago, I was speaking to the world and I was doing interviews all over. I think it was the only time I supported this government. I am an opposition member. And I said to the world, you need to wake up. You need to understand that Iran, the regime in Iran, is a threat to the free world. It's not only a threat to the state of Israel. It's not only a threat, an existential threat to the state of Israel. It's also a threat to other countries. And unfortunately, during the past few months, we've seen what this regime was doing to their own people. They murdered thousands and thousands of people, their own civilians. So this is not something that the world should tolerate. The world should speak up and say that the regime cannot murder demonstrators for going out to the streets and speaking against their violence. And so, of course, I want the world to wake up to this reality. Unfortunately, Iran is an existential threat not only to Israel, but to the entire free world. And we need to be united against this. And again, I have nothing against the Iranian people. I wish them the best. Israel used to have great relations with the Iranian people back in the 70s. And we are hoping for that to happen again. We need this regime to go away. And I'm hoping for the Iranian people that that will happen and things can change. Reality can change and we can have a much more peaceful Middle East and entire world.
Right. Shelley Marin, member of the Israeli Senate, thank you so much for sharing that perspective right ahead of Prime Minister Modi's crucial visit to Israel.